The 6 best pacers in Australasia have been invited to compete for $400,000 in prize money in harness racing's ultimate event. Live from Harold Park in Sydney, the Coca-Cola Miracle Mile. Hello, Karen Tai and Dave Morrow with you for this special grandstand presentation. And Dave, a very open field tonight.
It is a very open field, and Level Advice and Westburn Grant drawn out wide, very fast early. So is Franco Tiger, and maybe last year's winner Christopher Vance, an impressionist, will get the run of the race.
Well, 6 paces in tonight's big one. Let's take a look at the field.
Drawing the favoured inside barrier, Western Australia's Jack Morris. The New Zealand-bred gelding has won 12 of his last 15 starts, including this month's Fremantle Sprint. He's only been unplaced the once, however this will be a jumping class for the 5-year-old.
But Jack Morris is clear and he's far too good again. Final quarter 20.
In barrier 2, Victorian pacer Impressionist. Selected after his win in the Australian Airlines Sprint at Harold Park last Friday, ahead of Zakara and the Unicorn.
Coming right away to win easily. An Impressionist by 3 lengths.
Australian pacing champion Franco Tiger will start from barrier 3. The Victorian pacer has taken out both of the Grand Circuit races run so far this season, the Queensland and Australian Pacing Championships. Appearing for a second time in the Miracle Mile, Franco Tiger's connections will be hoping to atone a disappointing run in last year's event.
Franco Tiger wins.
Starting from barrier 4, defending champion Christopher Vance. The New Zealand pacer produced an impressive recovery to finish third to Blossom Lady in this month's New Zealand Cup after losing 50 metres at the start, and was timed to run his last mile in 1:58. In barrier 5, the third of Victoria's entrants, Level Advice. Along with Westburn Grant, one of the fastest starters from a mobile gate, Level Advice produced a season record for the Harold Park course of 1:56.6 last Friday.
Near the line, Level Advice. He's in front and he'll win. Level Advice beat
And needing all his class from the extreme outside, into Dominion champion Westburn Grant. Twice winner of the Miracle Mile in 1989 and 90, the star pacer from New South Wales holds the track record here at Harold Park of 1:55.6, and if he should win, will become the first horse to take out the title 3 times. Only 2 horses have won the Miracle Mile from the outside barrier, the last New Zealand pacer Lacano back in 1980.
Circuit champion Westburn Grant in front. He wins the Inter Dominion. Westburn Grant.
Yes, a grand champion, Westburn Grant. He came third last year after starting from the outside barrier. Who knows what he'll do tonight? At the moment on the tote, he's currently at 7-2. Let's have a look at the other horses. West Australia's Jack Morris, untested in this company. He's at 9-2. The Victorian duo of Impressionist and Franco Tiger, well, they're at 3s at the moment, so very well supported. Christopher Vance, the defending champion from New Zealand, at 4s, and Level Advice, well, at 12s, not so favoured. Here in the betting ring, getting a little bit quieter now as everybody is getting out there to get a good posse for tonight's race, the big one, this Miracle Mile. Christopher Vance, there's been a lot of support for this horse during the night, just speaking to a few of the bookies. Also, Impressionist and Franco Tiger. West Australia's Jack Morris has gone for 14s and 2/8. Impressionist and Franco Tiger, though, look like the horses that everyone's supporting. I like Impressionist. Who do you like, David?
Well, Karen, I've always been a bit of a fan of Impressionist, especially the way he won a heat of the Inter Dominion earlier this year. I think that this horse has an enormous amount of talent. He's drawn well in 2, and that's going to be a big plus for him tonight with Franco Tiger, Level Advice and Westburn Grant, 3 very fast pacers early. I think that those 3 could be certainly making a lot of speed towards the first turn. And, of course, the big question mark surrounds Jack Morris and can he handle the first turn here at Harold Park. We've seen a lot of horses unable to handle it first up in their first start here. There's Impressionist. He'll be very hard to beat. I think he's going to get one of the sits in the race, as will that horse who's walking just in front of him at the moment, Christopher Vance, last year's winner. But of course, that's just my assumptions on the way the race will be run. We've seen a lot of Miracle Miles been planned and thought out long before the race, and all of the plans have come unstuck. I will remember the other horse that won from gate 6, which was Master Quinn, showing us what a great horse he was way back in 1975 when he just sat behind them all, smoking his pipe with a turn, and then just switched out and went whoosh, and that was the end of the section. And maybe something like Christopher Vance or Impressionist might be able to get that sort of sit tonight and might well do the same again. But certainly a great field. The Australian race record, 1:53.9, held by Thorate. And should one of these horses, or should that time go by the board tonight, the winner will collect $75,000 along with the $25,000 bonus. for breaking the Harold Park race and track record of 155.6 set by Westburn Grant 2 years ago and winning the race. 155.6 will give them 25,000 and 153.9 will give them 75,000. They're squaring up behind the mobile barrier for the Miracle Mile of 1992. Jack Morris goes up onto the inside. Impressionist is just back behind them a fraction. Franco Tiger right up on the still. Christopher Vance just a half length away. And towards the outside, Level Advice and Westburn Grant. They'll soon be off. Around the turn they come. The arms will unfold in just a moment, and they're away in the Miracle Mile of 92. Getting out well was Franco Tiger and Level Advice. Jack Morris getting into the 1-1 early. Christopher Vance, 3 wide Westburn Grant, and Impressionist as last of all as they head to the back the first time. Franco Tiger is the leader, leads by a length and a half to Level Advice. Jack Morris is a neck away on the inside and getting the run of the race early on. Christopher Vance, Westburn Grant second last and 2 lengths off to Impressionist last of all as they head down the back the first time, and they start to steady in front, and the first quarter in a sizzling 27.7. Franco Tiger is the leader, a length to the good of Level Advice, a half length off Jack Morris, getting that lovely run last year's winners. Christopher Vance followed then by Westburn Grant, and last of all is Impressionist. Gathers steadying them up in front, and at the moment Franco Tiger is doing it beautifully, a half length to the good of Level Advice. Jack Morris, the Western Australian, running third. Christopher Vance on the outside is fourth, a length and a half then to Westburn Grant, and Impressionist last of all as they come down towards the half mile. They go through the second quarter in 31.6. The leader doing it well with a lap to go, and in front Franco Tiger a length now to Level Advice. Jack Morris, then Christopher Vance, followed by second last Westburn Grant, and Impressionist brings up the rear. 600 to go now in the Miracle Mile, and Franco Tiger doing it very easily at the moment. A length and a half away Level Advice, who's flat out at the moment. A neck away Jack Morris, he hasn't moved yet on Christopher Vance. Westburn Grant has peeled out 3 wide, and Impressionist last of all. Gas still got a lap full of horse with 400 metres to go. 29 for the third quarter. It's Franco Tiger in front, getting a little bit closer now. Christopher Vance, Jack Morris is third, then Westburn Grant. Impressionist, forget about Level Advice as they come to the turn. 200 to go. Franco Tiger is the leader on the outside. Christopher Vance throws down the gauntlet. Franco Tiger and Christopher Vance and Impressionist racing home along the road. 100 metres to go. Franco Tiger in front of champions all by Brian Gatt. Franco Tiger too good, beat Christopher Vance. Jack Morris third, then Westburn Grant followed by Impressionist, and Level Advice is last of all. Last quarter in 28, 156.7 the time. A brilliant drive by Brian Gath. He won the start with Franco Tiger. The second and third quarters told the story when he was allowed to steady up in front. 31.6 and 29.4 those second and third quarters. He was allowed to win the race there. And when Christopher Vance issued the challenge in the straight, Franco Tiger had plenty left and he came away to win by a length. Great performance by Franco Tiger. The record didn't go by the board, but my word, any budding reinsman learned how to drive then. Brian Gath, a marvellous drive on Franco Tiger, and the Victorian just too strong in the drive to the line. Tony Hurley, he couldn't have driven Christopher Vance any better. In the end, it was Franco Tiger's race, and Franco Tiger goes into the record books, taking the Miracle Mile. Christopher Vance second, and I think you'll find the West Australian Jack Morris has finished in third place. A good performance, 3, 4 and 1 the official placings. Number 3, Franco Tiger, by Beau Scott's Blue Chip out of Tempest Tiger, driven by Brian Gath, and a marvellous performance as he comes back. Second in the race, number 4, Christopher Vance. At the top of the straight, he looked as if he just might have a little bit up the sleeve, but he couldn't match the strides with Franco Tiger in the run to the line. Tony Hurley, he drove a magnificent race, trained by Barry Purdon in New Zealand. Christopher Vance, last year's winner of the Miracle Mile, and third, number 1, Jack Morris. Sean Harney drove the horse to perfection. He also trains the horse, and the West Australian has finished in third place. 156.7 the time, 2.5 metres by 5 metres. As Brian Gath, the master reinsman from Victoria, regarded by the best as one of the all-time greats. Franco Tiger in New South Wales, $3.90 the win and $2.30 for the place. Christopher Vance will return $2.10, and Jack Morris, no third dividend for Jack Morris, finishing third. Obviously insufficient starters, less than 8 starters, of course, providing a third place dividend. A marvellous performance. And really, he won it at the start. Level Advice tried to match strides with him, but he just couldn't go the early pace. And as I said, the race was virtually run and won in that second quarter, when after going 27-7 the first quarter, he was allowed to just slow it down and run a leisurely 31-6 the second quarter. And it was there really that he was allowed to dictate the terms of the race. And it was going to take a mighty horse to come from behind Brian Gath and Franco Tiger. And here's the replay of that finish again. As Gath looks to the inside, Impressionist wasn't making up the ground. And Franco Tiger was always going to win the race from here. Christopher Vance tried hard, but as valiantly as the New Zealander tried, the Victorian had too much in the run to the line. Franco Tiger too strong for Christopher Vance, with the West Aussie Jack Morris third, and Westburn Grant was on the outside fourth, and Impressionist not all that far away has finished officially fifth. Now in New South Wales, if you've got that quinella of 3 and 4, $11.50 the return, and the trifecta on the New South Wales TAB of 3, 4 and 1 has returned $101.20. Brian Gath getting a fairly good round of applause, and why wouldn't he? This fellow has always been regarded as one of the best men ever involved in the sport of harness racing. He's been a champion reinsman for many a long day, and a great performance here. He really did show a champion reinsman's technique in just slowing that pace around that top bend to allow Franco Tiger to come away with the race. Now, I believe there's been a protest. That certainly is unusual, and that's why the all clear hasn't been signalled. Now, I'm not sure what the protest will be for. Now, they've got to wait for this. The protest is third against first, which means the driver of Jack Morris, Sean Harney, has protested against the drive of Brian Gath. Third against first, and should, of course, that be upheld, the New Zealander Christopher Vance wins the race. Well, that's a sensation. There's the official, there's the warning siren. And let's go down to Karen Tighe with the news of the protest.
With us now is the winning driver at this stage, Brian Gath. Congratulations, Brian, on mastery.
Well, there has been a protest, third against first, but we'll have to just wait a while and see what the result of that is. Here is the winning driver, Brian Gath, being interviewed. We'll join that now if we can.
Not at this stage, no. Maybe I beat him by too far.
Well, Brian, you had a lovely run in. You must have been very pleased with the quarters.
I was everything. I was just pleased with the horse. The horse, a marvellous horse. He won without going full butt, and I was very proud of the horse.
He's toughened up in the more seasoned horse this time than last year.
He's always been good. He's just another year on him, and he's drawn good, and you know, he didn't have much luck early in his career, but now it's all coming his way. It's wonderful.
Has he silenced his critics once and for all?
Oh, well, I love him anyway. It don't matter what they say about him. He's good.
Well, Brian, congratulations at this stage. We'll have to let you go now to the stewards and pray,
sure.
but all being well, you'll keep the race.
Oh, I hope so. Thank you.
There he is, Brian Gath, and a masterly display in front.
Well, Brian Gath, we don't know what's going to happen. It was a wonderful win. We thought Christopher Vance down that last straight. Could he take it out for a second time? Only a select band of horses have taken this Miracle Mile. Westburn Grant, just one of them twice in a row. Well, this horse, Franco Tiger, he won the Queensland Pacing Championship. He just recently at Bankstown won the Australian Pacing Championship, which Westburn Grant came second in. It's been a wonderful season. If he does survive this protest from Jack Morris, the young horse from Western Australia, who was untested in this company, it will cap off a marvellous season here. Have we got any news? David, you might have some news on that protest?
Well, Karen, I'm intrigued by it all. I'm just trying to work out exactly where the interference could have occurred, which allowed Jack Morris's driver to appeal against Franco Tiger being declared the winner. Now, this was the only time I thought that there could have been any interference going out of the straight the first time. Now, from here on in, Franco Tiger was always in front of Jack Morris. And I can't see there that there were any grounds for a protest being upheld. Now, the only other time that I could think of is perhaps if there was some movement by Franco Tiger, of course, in the straight. He did finish up about 4 horses off the fence. Now, whether at some stage when Jack Morris tried to make his run, Sean Harney on Jack Morris thought that Brian Gath took his running, but gee, he would have had to give him a fair-sized prat, because he's been beaten 7.5 metres. That's a long, long way. And at no stage did I see anything in the race which would suggest that Jack Morris was unluckily beaten because of any interference caused by Franco Tiger. But as we see them again, here's in front Franco Tiger. That's Level Advice on the outside. And on the inside, Tony Harney. Now, that's coming down with a lap to go. And at that stage, I didn't see anything which would see the race being taken away from Franco Tiger. Let's go back down trackside, and here's Karen Tighe.
With me, Glenn Tippett, the trainer of Franco Tiger. A marvellous race tonight. I know there has been a protest. What are your feelings on that?
Oh, no, I've got no feelings on that. I just think the horse went fantastic. He won really well, and to the people at home, to Mum and Dad, Christine and Eric and Heather, you know, don't worry about it. He's got the money.
A great time tonight, but just capping off a marvellous season so far with the Queensland Pacing Championship and also the Australian Pacing Championship.
Yeah, he's going really good. That's the 3 Group 1 races in Australia this year. He's won them all, and Brian said he was never flat out tonight, so I think he's going to win some more too.
No, a lot of the money were on the Victorian horses, Impressionist as well. Were you happy, though, with the way the race was run? He came out, he was leading most of the way, and just down the end straight there, Christopher Vance was in pursuit, but he held out for a great win.
Yeah, it was just as I expected, you know. Yeah, I thought it would turn out that way, and it did.
What's next on the cards for you, Glenn?
The Trua Memorial on the 12th. That's our next race. Then we go to Perth.
OK, well, terrific performance tonight. I hope this protest goes the right way for you, and Franco Tiger, a fantastic result.
Thanks very much.
There it was, Glenn Tippett, the trainer of tonight's winner. We hope Franco Tiger. Back to you, David.
Well, just speaking to a couple of other people up here in the commentary area, they're quite surprised about the protest. We're trying to rack our brains to see whether there's ever been a protest in Miracle Mile history. Certainly I can't ever remember one. I must admit I wasn't here the night Robin Dundee won, but I can remember seeing just about everyone run and won since. And just speaking to a couple here, they can't remember a protest, and certainly there didn't seem to be any grounds, looking at the replay that we've seen so far, for the protest at all. Well, Glenn Tippett's done a marvellous job with this horse. Many people have believed that he's been one of the real unlucky horses until this season in the Australian harness racing world, and how often that happens. A horse that often gets a bit of bad luck against him, then all of a sudden he gets a run of good luck and he wins 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 good races in a row. And Franco Tiger's done it very well tonight. 7.5 metres. That's a staggering amount of distance for Jack Morris to come back. Let's have a look at it again now. When we went down to Karen for the interview with Glenn Tippett, this was about where we left the replay. Now, they've got about 600 metres to go here. Level Advice on the outside starts to drop off there in the black and red colours. In front, it's Franco Tiger. On the rails is Jack Morris. Now, Christopher Vance is starting to peel off 3 deep. Westburn Grant's going up 4 deep, and Impressionist it is who's back towards the tail. Now, approaching the 400, Gath has a look over the right shoulder. Christopher Vance is starting to make his move on the outside. Now, if there's any interference there to Jack Morris, it could only have come from Christopher Vance. Now, at this stage, there doesn't seem to be any interference whatsoever from Franco Tiger to Jack Morris. Now, Jack Morris gets onto the back of Christopher Vance. They're in the straight now. Franco Tiger in front, Christopher Vance the outside. Jack Morris is far too far away to even... well, I can't see any grounds for a protest at all. If you're on Franco Tiger, I'd be very surprised if you're in the queue at the moment. You've got no reason, as far as I can see, to get out of the queue. As far as I can see, well, I believe that it has now been official that the grounds are on the first turn. Well, having a look at the first turn, there didn't even seem to be any grounds there for Jack Morris. He didn't seem to be checked noticeably. In fact, I thought that Franco Tiger did everything that you'd expect him to do coming out of gate 3. And I don't think it will take very long for this protest to be thrown straight out. As far as I can see, that horse there, Franco Tiger, a son of Beau Scott's Blue Chip, will pick up the money. He is owned by E.J. Anderson and H.M. Anderson, and they're going to collect the first prize money tonight. It's quite staggering that the grounds for the protest are on the first turn. As I said earlier, that seemed to be the only place in the race that there were any time when the horses were that close together that Brian Gath could have crossed Sean Harney and caused Jack Morris any inconvenience whatsoever. And the stewards, of course, will be having a pretty good look at all the angles that are available to them as to what occurred on that first turn. But for mine, there was no unnecessary movement, I thought, on the part of Brian Gath which suggested that he crossed too sharply on Franco Tiger to cause Jack Morris inconvenience, and certainly not inconvenience enough to cost him the race. Let's go back down trackside, Karen Tighe.
Yes, I'm Peter V'landys, the Secretary General Manager of the New South Wales Harness Association. It's a pity to have a protest, I suppose, but it seems it may go the way of Franco Tiger, hopefully.
I think so. I didn't see that much interference, but it's typical of Sean Harney. He's a character, and if he thinks there's a chance to win, he'll take it.
You must be happy with tonight. It's a great night of the year, the Miracle Mile, because we do get a packed-out Harold Park. Over 25,000 people here tonight.
Most definitely. There's no better atmosphere here when they go around the corner, and when the Westburn Grant come out, the crowd nearly took the grandstand down. It was a shame he didn't win, because it would have been a real New South Wales win. But anyway, that's the way it goes, and we're just waiting for the protest.
We had 3 Victorian horses in the field, and there was a lot of money on 2 of them, Impressionist and Franco Tiger, and that won out the day.
That's right. Franco Tiger was very heavily back, but the one that came in very, very big was Christopher Vance. And if they didn't go that second slow quarter, he would have had a better chance. He certainly dashed around him there in the 3-quarter mark, but he just didn't have the strength, because that second quarter, Franco Tiger had a bit up his sleeve.
And we saw too, Franco Tiger, a great winning margin tonight.
Yes, he's a very, very good horse, much improved. He was in the Miracle Mile last year. He didn't perform as well as he did tonight. He's a much improved horse, and now he's well leading the Grand Circuit points, so he could be the Grand Circuit champion for the year.
OK, Franco Tiger, it looks like, will be the winner. We hope he'll survive this protest. It looks like he will. Back up to David now.
Yes, Karen there with Peter V'landys. Now, here it is on slow motion. This is the first turn. And as you can see, Franco Tiger's coming across in the white and blue colours, and in the yellow colours with the white cap is Jack Morris. And looking at that in the slow motion, there doesn't seem to be any major restraint applied to Jack Morris, which suggested that Franco Tiger severely checked the horse, or checked the horse in such a way as to cost him 7.5 metres, which is the margin that the stewards have to ascertain. It cost him to take the race away from Franco Tiger. And that's a long way, 7.5 metres, but when you had a look at that replay, and the first time we saw it, there didn't seem to be anything untoward from looking at the replay that we've been able to look at, which would suggest that Jack Morris has any chance whatsoever of picking up this protest. And of course what it would mean is that Christopher Vance would take the race on protest. It's the horse that loses the protest is placed immediately behind the horse that wins the protest if a protest is upheld. And so if it's third against first, it means that the first horse is relegated to behind, in this case, Jack Morris. And because Christopher Vance finished in front of Jack Morris, he would win the race. For those that are wondering why that would occur, but that's the rules of racing here in Australia. In some parts of the world, if a horse loses a protest, they're disqualified. They're just immediately placed last. And it would, of course, mean that in this case, Jack Morris, should he have the protest upheld, he would finish second. Christopher Vance would be first. But what it would mean, of course, the Westburn Grant would finish up third. So in some parts of the world, Franco Tiger, if the protest was upheld, he'd be relegated to last. But I don't see... in fact, I'd be very surprised if the stewards don't come down very shortly and give us the result of this protest. They seem to be taking some time listening to, obviously, evidence. This is Franco Tiger, of course, doing it magnificently in front. He really did do a good job for Gath. And look at Brian Gath just sitting there very quietly, very confidently. He knew that once he got to the lead and steadied them up, especially in that second quarter of the race, and this time you can see them swinging to the back the last time. They've got about 550 metres to go here, and Franco Tiger came away to win it quite comfortably. Karen, I think, is downstairs at the moment. And have we got the result of that protest yet or not, Karen?
No, David, we haven't at the moment. It's still going to be a few moments' time, a few minutes. We hope Franco Tiger, as you said, it looks like he will take out the championship. There didn't seem to be the interference that the Jack Morris connections are inferring. So the 1992 Miracle Mile, we hope, will be Franco Tiger, the Victorian gelding, 7 years of age, driven by Brian Gath and trained by Glenn Tibbett. We hope that's the case. Franco Tiger, 1992 champion of the Miracle Mile. And protest is dismissed, so I can confirm that Franco Tiger is the champion, 1992 Miracle Mile. Hope you've enjoyed our telecast. Remember, coming up on Sunday afternoon, we have live hockey action, semi-final time between Brisbane and Canberra. Hope you can join us then. Until then, Karen Tighe for ABC Sport.